Welcome to the Loyalty Builders podcast, where together with the top loyalty and product experts, we discuss how to maximize customer acquisition, engagement, and retention by using a loyalty engine. Building loyalty is complex, but with the right toolkit and market-proven knowledge, you will maximize the use of your products and services faster than learning from your own mistakes. Subscribe to our newsletter and twice a week get tried and tested tactics to build and improve customer loyalty. Hey everyone! This time we're discussing how to use loyalty programs to collect high-quality data and use it to build advanced models that will improve customer experience and business performance, like increasing basket size or reducing churn. The goal of this episode is to inspire you to build a feedback loop between your loyalty program and data models in order to build a complete omnichannel view of the customer journey. Joining us is Daniel Gawłowski, formerly a consultant at McKinsey & Company and Infosys. Daniel has worked with the top 10 largest companies by revenue across various industries. With expertise in constructing data pipelines, deploying data solutions, and bringing machine learning models into production, he is currently a data science partner and co-founder at Nostrum, a consultancy firm specializing in empowering e-commerce, SaaS, and other clients by facilitating data initiatives that drive significant business value. So without further ado, here's Daniel. Hi Daniel, it's great to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited about this one because it's going to be about data. And data is very important for every business. We are going to focus on data specifically in e-commerce. But what is even more interesting for me and our audience is that we are going to talk about data that could be especially important when it comes to loyalty programs. But before we go into that, I would like to ask you about, let's say, your point of view on data in e-commerce. What's the importance of it? How do you look at it? If you could just even guide me through the types of data you specifically look at.
Yeah, sure. So, in general, we are living in, data, age of data, right? So it's not only in e-commerce, it's not only in some specific industries. Maybe in the past it was like that, but nowadays all companies and all organizations are looking at what kind of use cases they can have in their organization to solve problems using data. And it can be very simple, some sort of descriptive, analytics, looking at the past events from the data, but it can also be predictive. It can also be some sort of predictive engines. In e-commerce, the great kind of property of that industry is that by definition you have most of your operations online, which means that there is already a part of infrastructure existing and part of infrastructure is already collecting your data. Because, for example, if you have a on-site store versus the online store. The difference is that in online store, you have all actions of your customers recorded, all transactions recorded, and everything is kind of structured and codified, and maybe not ready for the analysis right away, but still it's a great start, and that's why transactional data it's something that we would be looking at first, right? But there is more, right? There is really more. In the age of big data, there is also a traffic data. There is also an events data, which basically platforms like Amplitude or like Google Analytics, they're basically tracking all your movement, all your actions that you are performing on the web page. So it's all stored somewhere and all tracked and ready for gathering and extracting insights, right? For e-commerce specifically, there's also supply chain data. So it's like, your warehouses, your logistics data, right? How your products flow, and essentially the cost data. I think one of the biggest buckets, which is not directly related to your business. So the cost, besides the cost of your products, right? It's marketing. I think in e-commerce there is a huge opportunity in optimizing and really efficiently use the marketing budget that you have to really drive your business.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You've mentioned that e-commerce is actually designed in such a way that you actually are able to collect a lot of meaningful information about the customer. What would be your suggestion for any business that wants to actually transform into a data-driven business?
Mm-hmm. So like I said, e-commerce is not, it's closer than other industries, more traditional industries, to be ready for analytics, but still it's not ready, right away. There are two angles that you can look at it. First angle is the fundamentals, and also maybe small caveat here. Nowadays, you see, ChatGPT, large language models, big fancy models everywhere, mentioned everywhere. But what I typically recommend to our clients is, let's start from fundamentals. Let's focus on building the foundations for and really define your aspirations realistically. So to not start with the most fancy use cases that you can imagine, because there's a big chance that you will fail with that, right? And e-commerce is a step ahead in comparison to more traditional industries, but still it needs to have these foundations. For example, in terms of integration of data, automated collection of data, of how you store the data, for example, in data warehouse or data lake. These basics are really fundamental to be able to collect the data, to join the data, to cross view the data against different dimensions. You want to check, for example, marketing spend against your margins, right? You need to have everything in one place to be able to really slice and dice it properly. So that's something that we would start with. And the other angle I mentioned at the beginning is about the business perspective. You really want to focus on the proper, on finding the really beneficial use cases that you can identify in your organization, because there are a lot of companies that starts with use cases that are, they hire data scientists, they tell him, do something fancy, extract some insights, and let the magic happens. But unfortunately, this is not magic. This is engineering and a lot of work. And just then, after you have that foundations, you can think about some initial insights. And after some time, when you collect the data in a structured and clean format, then you can start thinking about, you can, set the bar higher, you should have like more ambitious aspirations in terms of what you want to accomplish, and start implementing some more advanced machine learning or deep learning predictive models, right?
Of course. Thanks. So I was thinking about the kind of like a setup, because, the majority of our audience are definitely people interested in building loyalty programs. And also like a huge part of a loyalty program is making sure that you understand the customer journey. Also, you've mentioned that there is a big difference between the journey online and the journey offline. So, if you have, let's say, like a loyalty program in place, you can have this omnichannel view, because very often you also interact through the program, even when you are offline, and still you get those data points together. So I was thinking, what is your advice on actually a proper setup? Maybe the tech or the tools needed to actually put the right data in place. Even before, let's say that you are thinking about implementing loyalty program, right? But where do you get the data from, and how to make sure that you have, exactly the right tools that allow you to get the right pieces of information?
Yeah, so I think in general, it's the answer will probably not satisfy you at first, because it really depends, right? It really depends on the complexity, size of organization, the split between the e-commerce part, which is online part, and the traditional retail business, or maybe it's just a retail business. In that case, the loyalty programs are really a gate to have more complete data. So that's let's say you have a traditional setup of, you have a data warehouse, you have multiple sources, right? You have your transactional system, you have your ERP, etc. You have your logistics, warehousing data, you have your traffic data, right? You know where your customers come from in e-commerce, what sort of commercial channels. You have your cost data, and it's typically multiple systems which needs to be integrated into some sort of data warehouse. Nowadays, it's with all the cloud technologies, it's really available for organizations of different sizes, right? But depending on what type of business you are running, you may know or may not know, and be able to link specific operations or transactions or purchases that your customers do with the customer identity, right? Maybe not identity, but some sort of characteristics and uniqueness of the customer. So, for example, a loyalty program can help you link different transactions to a specific customer, and therefore you can track what was his journey from the first time he was at your store, what were the properties, what were the how many times he visited the store before the purchase. So only having that unique perspective from his journey, you are able to kind of go with your insights to the next level, right? And this is something comparable to, for example, SaaS companies, because in SaaS you have some sort of subscription, and you know right away that your customer, what is he doing this month, for example, what's the trend in the usage of your product. You don't have that in e-commerce, and a loyalty program can help you close that gap of missing links in your data, right? So it's from a data science perspective or data analytics, it's a great addition to have that additional tool.
Absolutely. So in order to bring it to life in a way, if you could give us any sort of real life examples of how you can use data, especially some advanced data, on how to improve certain or maybe achieve certain business goals. I'm thinking about customer engagement. Usually it just is about recency, frequency, monetary value, right? So those typical, let's say, business goals when it comes to loyalty programs. If you could give us a sort of a scenario or maybe a particular business case and explain how advanced data can help you with achieving those particular business goals.
Sure. So from I'm thinking I have two examples of one will not incorporate specifically this type of data, but it's also showing a journey, analytics journey in e-commerce, and the other is actually using that, right? So let's start with the first one. First one is a very popular scenario when you have e-commerce business, and it's about recommending additional products. It's basically about increasing your size of your basket, right? That you are selling. So you can start. There are multiple ways when you have these foundations I mentioned about before. You can start with analyzing the past transactional data of your customers, and you can have some initial conclusions about what they were buying, what are their segments, right? What are the common products that they had in their basket together? So basket analysis, right, etc. So it is some sort of basic analytics. Then when you have more data, you can already start thinking about building some recommendation engines, right? There are multiple types of recommendation engines. I won't go into the details of building the model because it's fairly technical. But in general, you're familiar with the concept because we all are, engaging with this type of engines on a daily basis, on Amazon store or on watching Netflix, right, which is recommending us the next movie to watch. Last but not least, in that case, when you have that advanced solution, is to apply some business sanity checks or business heuristics, right? And here what I mean is I have this funny example from one of the jewelry e-commerce customers. They were building a predictive recommendation engine, right, for their store, online store, and they were recommending chairs. Sorry, not the chairs. They were recommending necklaces with earrings, right? But the problem was that the necklaces they were recommending, the necklaces that the customers were buying were for around 100k zlotys, right? Because they were, in full gold and diamonds and all of that. And the price was not incorporated into the whole business model, into the whole model. So what the engine was recommending were, for example, earrings for 200, 300 zlotys, right? So imagine you are a customer who is looking for some turbo expensive gift for his wife. He wants to spend like the 20 to 100k for some gold necklace, and you are in the final stage of the basket. You would probably consider adding additional product to it because you are anyway spending a lot of money. But then what is recommended in the final stage before you hit purchase button, there's like 3 sets of earrings for 200 300 zlotys, which is like one of the cheapest products, just because the types of products go together, right? So it's this kind of business perspective that you still need to apply on these models. And so that's the first way of advancing in your analytics, let's say, journey.
Thank you for actually giving this example. I really like it because, yeah, as you said, like there are so many different layers, right? So obviously, like if you think about like a necklace and an earring, it just goes together. But actually, when you look at it from the deeper or actually not deeper because it's only like pricing perspective, but still. You probably, you immediately see that the model might be a bit more detailed and more effective, right?
So the model can be optimized, but if you define the cost or the loss function of the model wrong, then you don't have that business the sanity check from a business perspective, and that kind of heuristics needs to be there because even if it doesn't work in that particular case, it just probably did not work properly. For that particular customer, it did not increase his basket, right? But it also sometimes make you stupid, right? It's just if you define this rules wrong, then your customers can get irritated because they are looking at your page, they want to select something and they see, for example, they want to buy a sofa, and what is recommended to them is the same sofa but in different color, right? So you think, come on, guys, I don't need 2 sofas. I need something that fits the sofa, right? And you need to have that checks.
You're absolutely right. That actually this impacts or is like a huge part of user experience. So if those recommendation engines or like the proper recommendations, it's not only about the business side of it, but also like this sort of like a feeling that the user gets, like, okay, this program, let's say, or like this company has it properly organized, right? And on the other hand, as you said with the sofas, like perhaps like there is a high chance that if I've bought one, I don't need another one in a different color.
Yeah, maybe, but probably you are in the minority, right? If you need two sofas because of you have a big apartment, right?
Absolutely.
And the other example, because that was just one, right? I was talking for a long time. The other example I had in my mind was about it's related to the loyalty topic more because it's about churn, right? It's about retention of your customers. And again, you can have multiple levels of churn of approaching the retention of your customers. First, it's always you're looking at your data that you're proud you collected the data in your clean and automated data warehouse. You look at the past and you try to identify what is the characteristic of a typical churning customer. And here, when I think about loyalty programs, it actually is like it's like a symbiosis between this type of analytics and this sort of programs, because on one hand, you can use, like we said before, the loyalty program to enrich your data to then be able to build a better prediction model, right, for a churn, let's say. I will come back to the churn in a minute. But on the other hand, you can also use analytics to optimize your loyalty program and to extract the most out of the investment or the initiative that you had with that loyalty. And one of the things that comes to my mind is related to the churn topic, because in churn you after you go with the descriptive part of just analyzing your past data, you are probably going to start thinking about building a churn prediction model. But the problem with traditional churn prediction models is that they are not fully aligned with your business goal, right? Because your business goal is just to engage with your customers, to reduce the churn, to increase their retention. But you also want to do it in optimized way. You don't want to spend too much effort on these initiatives, right? And so we were talking about basic descriptive statistics. Now we are modeling using machine learning to predict churn. But what's the next level here? If you want to go to even more advanced approaches, and there's this topic called uplift modeling, right? And uplift modeling is something that is from the area of causal inference. Is trying to define the cause of the events that happened, and in general, in that context, it's trying to predict what your action, how your action will affect the specific customer, right? So you want to identify only these customers that are really persuadable to stay with you, right? So, because in the typical setup, if you predict a customer that has high probability of churn, you would probably approach him, right? You would want to give him some discount, or maybe you would like to go and offer him additional points on your loyalty program. For example, you have this set of action that you might do. But this action might or might not have effect on specific customers, right? And so what uplift models give you is they give you the ability to identify those customers where the effect of your action will be maximum. So, for example, if you have a loyalty program in place and you want to maximize the bonus points or the campaign that you have built around it, or some maybe you want to promote your customer to higher tier of the loyalty program if you have some sort of plans there. The best the best way to do it is to identify the customer who will respond to your action. So if you give him that bonus points, he will actually stay longer with you. He will come back. He will use that points, buy something else, and it will be basically something measurable for your business and basically the uplift, right, of whatever metric you are optimizing for. In this case, it might be revenues, where you don't want to look at the customers, or maybe not want to look, but you don't want to target or engage with customers who are so-called lost causes, because these are the customers that are staying, that are probably leave you no matter what you do, right? So in that context, this marriage between loyalty programs and analytics is kind of going two ways. It's like a feedback loop, because on the one hand, the loyalty programs it's giving you the data, the enrichment of the data, the higher quality data, and on the other hand, you then can use this data and build more advanced models. So then you can target your programs, your different campaigns, including loyalty programs, better for the customers that it will have effect on, right? So I think it's a really nice frame of maybe not frame, but the loop of actions.
Absolutely. I mean, I love the way you described it, that is actually an ongoing feedback loop, and you are, let's say, learning everywhere, right? And the insights go both to the loyalty program and from the loyalty program, and the impact on business is massive, because as you said, churn is like you still need to segment, right, those customers who are not engaging, and some of them, as you said, if you perhaps give a bit of attention, they will stay with you for longer. It's not going to be a problem to engage them or even re-engage them. But some actually are going to fit into the lost cause category, right? So here, it's better to be aware of the situation and maybe save the resources and actually go wherever the uplift is, let's say, most effective, right? Or the biggest, or actually it's like you have the highest chance of the uplift. So thanks for mentioning that.
It's even sorry for interrupt, because it's even there's two more actually, and it basically shows this process even better, because now we mentioned only the edge cases, the not disturbs, which lost causes, and the persuadables, right? But there are also two other types of customers you might have. One are sure things, so-called sure things, and basically these are the customers that will stay with you because they love your brand. They don't need additional, targeting and actions towards them. And there are also the customers called do not disturbs, which are little bit maybe linked to the example that we were talking about before about recommendation engines and how stupid recommendation engine may discourage your customer from staying on your site. But in that case, it might be someone who is just using your product or buying in your store from time to time. But when you start targeting him, when you start spamming him with some discounts, check this new program, check this, check that, he doesn't want to hear that. There is a small percentage of people that just they don't want to be interrupted and interrupting in whatever they do. And this additional approach of analytics with this rich data you have is really allowing you to also identify these guys. And in the end, the only guys you want to target, the only customers you want to target are the persuadables, right? Because in any other group, you are just losing your money. If you're approaching, sure things with some additional bonus points, they would stay with you anyway. Why bother? Right? Why lose your resources? You can spend them in a better place, right? In lost causes, we already mentioned they will leave anyway, because it's also always the process of retention. And the do not disturbs, you want to avoid that action. So if you target them, you are really losing twice because once you are losing the marketing resources to go with that action and engage them, and the other way you lose them as a client, so you lose the value of which they could bring, right? So for these three types, the strategy is just do nothing, right? The only valid strategy is to approach persuadables, and this gives you the kind of maximum value out of your actions, out of your loyalty program, for example, right?
Brilliant. Thanks for that example, because definitely it brings it to life. And as you said, it's actually about calculating the resources properly. And once you actually understand the types of customers, it's so much easier for you to allocate the budget in the right way. So this is great. Since we are closing the episode almost, I wanted to ask you about this. I still like this idea of a feedback loop between the loyalty program and the analytics, the data you have in e-commerce. What would be your suggestion, how to make sure that you are on the right way to create such a feedback loop? Or what needs to be, what types of data do you need out of a loyalty program in order to make sure that, the loyalty program actually supports the e-commerce business?
Oh, that's a tough one, because it's also, it depends on the type of business, because loyalty programs are in many industries, right? I think
sure.
I will not surprise anyone, but I also did my research, and I think the airlines, right, are the one of the biggest players in that promoting that idea. But in general,
for sure,
you want to collect, assuming you have your fundamentals, right? Because I need to assume that wherever business you're running, if this is a retail business, you need to be you need to try to collect as much data as possible that you will then be able to transform into the customer journey, because independent data points are valuable for aggregations, for understanding how much revenues we have, what are the costs per store, different slices, but they don't give you that insight of what were the trends for this specific customer and how when you unfold it on a time as a time series, right? What was his engagement levels? If you have like I said, it depends what kind of channels he can interact with you. But if you have an online store, a mobile application, and the retail stores, you really want to be able to have the high quality data in one place that is linking all these three channels, right? If you have only two channels, you need to link the two channels to be able to look at the customer journey, because that will help you identify trends of how he's engaging with your product, of your services, to be able to predictively look at what comes next, right? So we observe that this particular client, the average number of orders that he's making for the last 3 months is decreasing steadily, right? Let's maybe create a signal out of it and reach out to him. This is like a very simple and basic example, but only the perspective of a journey can help you visualize that and can help you look at it from the right perspective.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. And, congratulations on launching the podcast. I think that, it's a very good platform to share valuable content. It's great that you actually tackle those, data related topics. So I'm a huge fan already, even though the podcast is not live yet. So, thank you for sharing. And I hope that, to see you soon, where we could actually discuss maybe even in more detail the importance of a loyalty program when it comes to gathering the right data. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Yeah, thanks. I'm happy to, thanks for having me, and I will happily, join you again, wherever, advanced analytics related topic you have in your mind. I'm happy to cover it. for your guests. Not guests, for your listeners.
Perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Building the feedback loop between your loyalty program and advanced data models will certainly help you improve the ROI. And as Daniel said, it's not magic, it's engineering. Now, let's wrap up with a few action steps. If you enjoyed this episode, help us grow by leaving a positive review. Share your thoughts with us using the Q&A feature or by sending an email to podcast@openloyalty.io. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter for more valuable content related to the podcast. Have a great day, everyone. The Loyalty Builders podcast is brought to you by the team at Open Loyalty, an API-first loyalty engine that allows you to implement loyalty and gamification features into your tech stack faster than developing them from scratch.